Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about this week's TV news. We do this weekly, we pick our favourite episode of TV of the week, and give you any updates that are happening on the channel, but for the most part it's about what happened news-wise this week. We're recording this slightly earlier than usual, a day early, because The Defenders is launching tomorrow on Netflix, so we're going to be spending a lot of time doing that. So this is just a case of rejuggling the schedule a little bit to try and give us enough time to try and keep up with doing one of those a day, because it can get quite tight. But here we are. So not much to update. I mean, obviously, Defenders review of that will be going up tomorrow, and then following Friday, The Tick is finally launching on Amazon, so there'll be reviews of that. But that was pretty much it. Was there anything this week that was new? Or...
You and Matt did a new show
That is
for the
true.
channel.
That's true. It wasn't TV, of course, but me and Matt have started a new monthly movie discussion show, much like our other movie discussion shows, except this one, the movies picked are kind of intentionally. It's called 1.21 Overload, and the movie is one that one of us love, and the other one will either have not seen it, either might hate it, or has seen it and already hated it. Um,
But
but
but but the expectation is that one of them will hate it.
that's the expectation. That didn't actually happen this first time. Matt ended up not having much of a problem with Blue Velvet, but there's a possibility for that. That said, is the because obviously what we're doing going forward is we're letting the patrons vote every month on what the movie's going to be, and we give them a couple of options: one that one of us loves, one that the other one loves, and I think eventually it'll probably maybe mold into just okay, it's a movie that one of us loves that the other one's not seen, rather than looking for something that they specifically might hate, because I think eventually we're going to run out of options for that.
I don't know. There's a lot of musicals.
You can't just put musicals for the one I will hate every single month on the poll. It's just not. It's not
Let's see about
feasible.
that.
It's not feasible. Luckily, you're not making those calls, so that's okay. But yeah, so that was the thing that started. But no, that is it. So without much further ado, we can get into the week's TV news. Quick thing first of all, Ozark has been renewed for season 2 on Netflix. That was pretty quick. That was even quicker than Glow got renewed, and that got renewed fairly quickly.
Yeah, yeah, cool for those who did like it.
Yeah, we weren't. I mean, we didn't hate it, but we weren't really hot on it either. We didn't watch past the
Yeah,
first
it
episode.
definitely wasn't bad, and I can see why. If people enjoyed it, then yeah, why not?
Yeah, people are into it, so that's the thing. So that's the only quick thing this week, actually. Usually there'll be like a few things that I can rattle off quickly, but it's just that it feels weird doing one on its own. But on to the rest of the stuff. So we got a bit of casting for Arrow season 6.
Oh God.
Um, it's relatively basically the character of Richard Dragon uh, is coming to
Hmm.
Arrow season 6, and they're going to be played by Kirk Acevedo, I think he pronounced his name. He fans of Fringe will know him. He was on a lot of Fringe. He was also in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. For
Okay,
a
I'll
movie.
recognize his face then.
Yeah, you'll know his face. But he's going to be playing Richard Dragon. Or technically, actually, Ricardo Diaz is the alias that the character has, but that's one of the aliases of Richard Dragon. So presumably he will be Richard Dragon at some point eventually, or he'll be revealed.
One would hope, but this is Arrow.
Unless he's revealed to be Vigilante, which is still not answered, which is entirely possible. If it's not Eddie, that is.
That's Adrian Chase's twin brother.
We'll get that actor back
Yeah.
because he's got a twin brother. Yeah, that's an idea. So that's the thing. Speaking of casting, this one is because there's been a lot of casting for this, and I've mostly kind of like not mentioned it. But I thought, okay, we got a new one. I'll give you the whole list now that we've got so far, and just remind you that the show is happening. So we're getting Castle Rock, which is this Stephen King kind of shared
Thing we don't
universe.
know much
It's,
about really.
the way I'm looking at it, do you know how I've never actually watched it, but you know how Once Upon a Time is kind of like they've got all of Disney's things like integrated
Yeah,
into
so
one
all
world,
these fairy tale properties.
and they've sort of integrated it so they're all characters in the same world, and that's what the show is. I think this is what Castle Rock's going to be. It's going to be a lot of Stephen King's different books and stuff. The characters are going to be all in the same universe, and we'll have elements of things coming in. But it'll be restructured so that the plots can kind of work together, depending on what they're doing for any particular season. So that's coming. That's coming from Hulu. They've cast Scott Glenn, who of course was in The Leftovers. He's been in Daredevil. He'll be in Defenders, which is starting tomorrow. He plays Stick. I'm not a big fan of Stick, admittedly, but he was good in The Leftovers.
You like Scott Glenn? Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Glenn's fine. Yeah, he's good. But he's joining Sissy Spacek. I remember her being involved. Jane Levi's in it, which I think I knew, but I'm happy to see it all the same because I like her a lot. We've also got Andrew Holland, Melanie Linsky, Bill Skarsgård. They're all on board for this. So it's building a cast, a couple of cool names in there. Sissy Spacek, of course, was in Carrie, the original movie, back in the 70s, so she's like that's almost the equivalent of, you know what all these like DC shows do, where they cast like the old Flash to be like the dad and things like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is. It's like, oh, we've got someone from a Stephen King movie from years ago in the show.
Smart. It kind of says a lot about just how long these movie adaptations of his have been going that they can do that.
Yeah. So there's actually a little bit of information about who Scott Glenn is playing, because since that was the sort of the core part of the news. Glenn will play Alan Pangborn, who's a retired sheriff who presided over some of the darkest years in Castle Rock's checkered history. The character is popular in King and Lore, and he was in he was kind of the central character in a couple of the books. He was in Needful Things and The Dark Half. I think he's popped up in others, but those were the two where he was like more central to the overall thing. So perhaps we'll get one of those as the plot for season 1, or depend. I don't know if they're going to have multiple in one season or if it's going to.
Yeah, we really don't know how they're doing this, do we? But I'm really interested to find out. Yeah,
it's exciting to see what they're going to do with it. I think we're going to have a core set of characters, and I think it'll be kind of, you know how like Fargo, it feels like there's a couple of different Coen Brothers movies are kind of homogenous for one season. I feel like it might be like that, where it's like 2 or 3 King books that will make up the first season, but they'll be rewritten to work coexistingly.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then like season 2 maybe they'll pick, and that'll maybe be exciting because maybe season 1's like mostly sort of some lesser stuff, but then season 2 is like, oh no, one of the big books that you've heard of.
Right, and then like you get to like season 3 or 4, and you go, that's when you bring in one of the supernatural based books. Start with all some of the crime stories, something like that.
Do you think they're going to start with that?
I think they might.
I think there'll be a supernatural element in the first season.
Do you think?
I'm not going to bet any money on it, but
I can see them wanting to build to it, and that be the new thing for whatever season that is to bring people back.
My gut tells me there will be at least maybe it won't be overtly like talked about, but I think there will be strong hints of supernatural going on.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
I'm thinking kind of season 1 Twin Peaksy kind of thing where there's something else going on here.
Yeah, Joe, I'm really interested in this show. I think the writers have got a hell of a job to do though. To work all these ideas into a cohesive show. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it'll either be a glorious mess or it'll be something special. And
pretty much.
I'm hoping for the latter, of course, but I'll take it.
There's a chance.
The glorious mess, though, could also be amusing.
Yep, that's true.
So we'll see. So you know how last week I went on a tirade about bringing old things back?
Here we go again.
Now I don't have any connection to this property, so I'm not going to go at that much of a rant. But I just wanted to remind everyone that I had that whole rant last week, and just here's another thing. So the Jetsons.
Oh, I like the Jetsons.
Do you know I have never seen an episode of the Jetsons?
You'd dig it.
I probably would. It's funny because obviously it's part of that whole Hanna-Barbera kind of era, and I love Scooby-Doo, I love Wacky Races, Dastardly and Muttley, even Top Cat, which isn't really that good, but I grew up with it. I liked it.
I'll defend Top Cat.
I never saw the new movies though that were meant to be terrible. So
no, they looked a bit shady, didn't they?
Yeah. But the Jetsons, ABC is put in a pilot order, or they've got a put pilot order, meaning that if they don't make it, there's a penalty. For a live-action sitcom based on the Jetsons. Now, the one part I don't like so much is that it's going to be multi-camera, right? Which is a bit rough.
Yeah, okay.
But at the same time, at least like if there's canned laughter, that's going to annoy the shit out of me. But I do kind of like the idea of a classic 80s style sitcom, which is when most of it takes place in the living room of this house with the family, but it's set 100 years in the future, and they're talking about weird science-y, fiction-y things that are going on. Like I can see potential for that having some fun.
I think this could be a lot of fun. It could be awful, but I'm down.
unfortunately, multi-camera, we're at a time like post, like once we got to the 2000s, that's when like multi-camera started to feel dated and we didn't really want it anymore. And that's not to say that I don't love some old multi-camera stuff. I do. Like go back and watch Cheers and Frasier and
I'd love for there to be a new multi-camera one that was good. Just to prove that it can be done. Like that's the thing. We saw all those shows. It can be done well.
It can be, yeah.
And it's been so long since we've had a good one, but just prove no, we can do this right.
Here's the thing, though. I think not entirely, but I think part of the reason why all sitcoms, for the most part, were multi-camera up until a certain time was because it's much quicker and easier to shoot that, right? Because you shoot an episode of a sitcom in like 2-3 days that way. The actual schedule for it's really quick.
Each episode takes about a week from reading the scripts to.
And I think
shooting.
the switching to single camera for a lot of comedies is because that's the ambition. It's like, oh, we can do better now, we can do more. And I think a lot of the, and again, I don't want to make a blanket statement here. I'm not saying there's no one who really loves multi-camera who can rate a good multi-camera show, but I think the majority of people with the ambition who want to do something inventive all drift towards single camera because they can do more inventive things there. And as a result, the ones who are still doing multi-camera are the ones who don't have that kind of
right. No, I agree. But this is the thing, like say, more inventive things with the cinema. Ultimately, though, they just need to be funny.
They do. Yeah.
And that's the great thing about comedy. There's nothing about multi-camera inherently that should affect just being funny.
No, that's absolutely true. There's been some great ones in the past. It's just like I can't think of the last new one that I liked. Like what? I'm really struggling.
I have no idea.
I mean, 8 Simple Rules was okay. No, that was a 2000s one, so maybe that. I didn't love it though. It was just okay.
Right. It was a while ago, still though.
Oh yeah, it's been over a decade now, but it's still the newest one I can think of.
Right. I don't know. I hope this is good. I really do.
Now, speaking of also things coming back, although this is something that was already in schedule to come back, although there was a snag on the road to fruition because one of the actors who might have been involved died while it was in development. So obviously that puts
Tends
something
to change some plans, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Amazon are still wanting to do a TV show based on Galaxy Quest. And I think the original plan was that it was going to be a sort of continuation with the cast. But obviously Alan Rickman passed away. And obviously that was, over a year ago now. This was in development in 2015, right? So then 2016, I think it was January 2016 that Alan Rickman passed away. Yeah, January, February, it was around then. But they've just hired a writer to work on this Galaxy Quest TV show. So it's still clearly something they want to do. Maybe they took some time, but they're like, okay, let's do something now. But we don't actually know that they've released no sort of plans or statement as to whether they want to bring the other cast back, if it's going to be something set in the same continuity.
Yeah, or if they just go change it completely and make it different.
Yeah. What's interesting about this, though, is kind of weird that this is still happening, because at least when this was first talked about, I was excited, because I went, oh, you know what, Galaxy Quest could actually be a really good TV show. And the funny thing is now we have the Orville starting on Fox, and that is kind of Galaxy Questy. I don't think it looks as good because the trailer did nothing for me, but it's definitely in that same ballpark.
From what we've seen, yeah.
Yeah. So, interesting to see how those will coexist, especially since we keep hearing the Orville's trailer's misleading. We heard Seth MacFarlane wasn't happy that the trailer kind of presented it as this wacky comedy when it's not actually all that.
Right.
And I hope he's right. I hope I watch that pilot when it hits and I'm a lot more positive about it, but it'll be interesting to see, like, okay, does this feel like it's, just not needed because Orville exists? Or if Orville is more of a classic Star Trek-y show, does Galaxy Quest then fill this void where it's doing a very smart, witty job of like making fun of the tropes? Like, does this become kind of like their sci-fi comrade detective almost?
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like, there's potential, and I think it's down to how Amazon markets, because obviously at that point, the Orville, should it be successful, will be well established.
Yeah.
So Amazon are going to need some strong marketing to say to people why they should watch this if they're already watching the Orville.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The writer in question who's been hired is Paul Scheer, who is also an actor. He's on The League, so some people will know him. I didn't know him, but some people will.
Me either, but it's cool.
So that's the thing. Alright, so next up, Fox has got a pilot commitment for a single camera comedy and I actually kind of like the idea about this. This is a comedy. This is a comedy that is poking fun. It is a satire of all these TV shows coming back years later.
This is perfect for you.
It's called Revival. The series would follow Elliot, formerly a little kid from a beloved 1980s family sitcom, who is now living a normal life as an adult, but he reluctantly gets sucked back into the show's revival with his old TV family. I think there's a good bit of potential with this.
Oh yeah, there is.
I can just see the scenes. Like, yeah, obviously they'll be on the set of this, TV show. They'll have the set of the living room up, but obviously we'll be following them around the set, and it'll be all the drama behind the scenes and whatnot. I see potential in this. I like the premise.
And then trying to give him acting lessons, because by the sound of it, he's not an actor anymore.
Yeah, he was like, who knows what age he was when he was a kid, but like.
Right. But that description sounded like he's not been acting, so they're gonna have to like try and coax him into acting and do better around presumably the ones that stayed acting.
Yeah, I mean, presumably they talk him into it because maybe he's hard up for money and that they offer him a reasonable amount. Maybe that's why he does it or something like that. Or maybe he feels pressure. But I can also see them playing with the idea that because he kind of grew up with this fake family as well, there's this weird dichotomy of his real family and then this fake family who let's say that this show was like Married with Children and ran 9 years, and he started at the age of 5 and he stopped when he was 14. Like, that's a lot of his childhood.
Right, he will have grown up around those people, like undoubtedly. So, yeah, could be fun.
I see potential. Netflix is not quite got the deal done, but they're close to a deal for a new comedy, which will star Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin, which great duo. That is a great. You open strong with those two names, and then you say from co-creator of The Big Bang Theory, Chuck Lorre is the one behind it, and my heart just goes, no.
Oh God, I hate Chuck Lorre.
No.
I hate him so much. Has he ever done a good show?
It's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check what else he's done. I don't remember hating Dharma and Greg. But then again, I saw that when I was so young. Like, maybe if I watched that now, I'd be like, oh, this is just as bad as everything else that I know him for. So I have no idea. But the series is titled The Kominsky Method, and it would follow Douglas, who is an actor who years ago had a brief fling with success, but he's now a revered Hollywood acting coach. Arkin will star as his friend and agent. So, again, I think the premise sounds good for these two.
Right.
It sounds great.
Well, it's the talent behind the camera that we're concerned about.
And Alan Arkin, I think he's hilarious. I love him and stuff. Like, he maybe even been my favourite part of Argo.
It's a bold statement.
Have you seen Argo? Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a great movie, but like...
It is.
Like, him and John Goodman, like, back at home, like, in their antics were, like, possibly the highlight of the movie for me, because he was really cracking me up. He's a great actor, so...
No, he is.
I hope that works out. Obviously, the writing force behind it. I mean, who's to say? Maybe he's just producing. Maybe he won't have as much. And because it's on Netflix, it's probably not going to be multi-camera.
Is this not the Amazon one?
No, Netflix.
All right.
Galaxy Quest was Amazon.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's Netflix.
Too many streaming services now.
Too many. Yeah. Now, speaking of Netflix, we're on to the dramas. Now, this one's actually quite awkward to talk about because there's no title and there's no description.
So why are you telling us?
Because they've ordered it. They've ordered an 8-episode series from the UK. It's a supernatural thriller, and that is all we know.
Well, that sounds...
But it's ordered. In fact, they're shooting it right now. They're shooting it right now between the UK and Norway, which makes me think it's going to be a really cold set show. Yeah. I'm sensing snow and chills and frost.
God damn it, Netflix. Why are you doing this? Tell us something.
It's written by Henia Elkington, who's credited with the North London Book of the Dead. I've never heard of it, but fair play. And Simon Durek, who interestingly... So these are the two people who are writing it, right? And Simon Durek was a storyboard artist on The Crown, which I think is interesting, because to me that says that he did that for Netflix, and he's like, "Hey Netflix, I've got this idea," and then they went, "I'll go on." Then you have a little budget.
No, it does. It sounds like he's guys found the door and then pitched it internally.
Yeah, because I mean, he wasn't a writer on that show. He was a storyboard artist, and now he's writing a show for Netflix.
It's interesting because I always hear of like stories like places like Google doing things like that. You know, as their thing where you work on the project that's assigned to, but then if you come to them with an idea, they might listen because you're there.
I mean, yeah, clearly he obviously had a good relationship with whoever he was working with,
right?
And he's maybe pitched the idea and maybe they've went with it. So it's going to be 8 episodes. It's filming right now, so I expect we'll see it sometime in 2018. And I like supernatural shows, so sure, but like
I'd like to know something about it. I
like supernatural shows. I quite like shows set in the cold. As weird as a statement as that might sound, I like the idea.
No, I'm with you.
But it's not a lot to go on. But there you have it. It's a thing that's happening. You couldn't tell me what it is. But
ordering even more content.
I swear, next year it's going to be every Friday, new Netflix show.
Like it's kind of sad to feel. By the time we're at 2019, it is just going to be every week.
Yeah, we're going to be at the point where we're like, okay, we need to somehow finish this season of this show before next Friday because a new one hits. We have to get it done by the end of Thursday. That'll be the new thing going forward. Either that or our standards are going to have to get so goddamn high that we're just going to be cutting things that we normally would cover, but it's not it's not a 9.5 out of 10. It's not good enough.
There's something coming next week that we've got higher hopes for, so you're all going to have to wait.
Yeah. And I'm being facetious, but yeah. So next up, TNT is going to be turning a sci-fi fantasy novel into a show. The 5th season is the name of the book. It's the first of 3 books by N.K. Jemisin is the writer. The 5th season is described as an epic drama set in the world where civilization destroying earthquakes occur with deadly regularity. A small minority of inhabitants has the ability to quiet these earthquakes, but they can also cause them. The series follows 3 women, each of whom possess these special earth-controlling abilities. Damaya, a young girl training to serve the Empire. Cyanite, these are weird names, I had to think about how to pronounce that. Cyanite.
That's fantasy for you.
An ambitious young woman ordered to breed with her bitter and frighteningly powerful mentor. And Essun, a mother searching for the husband who murdered her young son and kidnapped her daughter mere hours after a season, and I think that's just a word here for earthquake, tore a fiery rift across the land. Also, I want to put it, I'm proud that I said the word regularity on the first try, because I always struggle with the R's and the L's like that.
You do.
Close together.
You do. Usually it goes badly, doesn't it?
I did pause before, and I really thought about it. Right, I'm going to nail this, and I nailed it. So I'm proud of that. What do you think?
I'm down. I like fantasy stuff like this, so sure.
This is okay. Like, I'm not like it does kind of sound like a generic fantasy book to me. Like, nothing about the premise is like, oh, this is super interesting to me. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, there's potential. I could see this being cool.
That's the thing. I like a lot of those generic fantasy books. I'm not saying that they're all amazing, but I have fun with a lot of them. So, to me, that's like, yeah, it's one of those, and for me, that's good enough.
So no, I think there's potential here, and obviously there's 3 books, and if the first season is the first book, then they could have a nice 3-season hit in their hands. And that's to say, I don't know if it's like a finished series, like it might just be the first 3 are out, and maybe the writers got more planned. If it ends up being a hit on TNT, they'll be like, hey,
that's a big thing with a fantasy series at the minute, where you've got like a trilogy that you've done before, but then go back and do another trilogy in the world later on. Like that's becoming a big trend lately.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas.
Yeah.
It's his fault. I'll blame him for everything. Anyway, next up. So, Johnny Depp's company, Infinitum? Nihil? I have no idea what it
Got regularity fine, but this, no chance.
Oh no, well this is weird to be fair. Regularity, at least, is a normal word that I just sometimes struggle with. This is madness. Anyway, his company is partnered with G4C, to produce a new TV show, which is based on a video game. There's no network yet, so we don't know where it's going to pop up. But so it's called The Secret World, and it mentions it's a globally successful MMO game, and I have never heard of it. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah.
Is this one of those browser ones?
I have no idea. It says the Secret World, and it was also recently rebooted as Secret World Legends. So I mean, it's old enough that it's been rebooted and re-released, whatever it is. And I've never heard of this.
We're both gamers. We're both,
Yeah, but we're not into
attention.
MMOs, but we know enough about the scene to,
Yeah, you'd think we'd have seen something about this pop up at some point.
Yeah. But hey,
Literally never heard of it. But
I wouldn't really
fine.
care that much, but it says globally successful, which makes me assume I should have heard of it. But whatever, knock
Right.
yourself out. Anyway, so the TV adaptation will be based on the universe of the Secret World IP. It will center on a team of undercover agents and the shadowy war between secret societies, the Illuminati, Dragon, and the Templar. Central to the plot is their battle against the supernatural in an adventure that spans across our world and incorporates the realms of ancient myths and legends, as well as today's conspiracy theories and headline news. And Connor's got an erection. I can't see it, but I can just saying I feel it feels wrong, but that's essentially what I'm saying. I can just feel that he's got an erection right now. Do you have an erection based on this?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, of course I'm right. I know
And
you
you got
too
the
well.
secret societies, and then Illuminati, Templars. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of getting into this.
And then I hit you with today's conspiracy theories and myths and legends, and you're just
Yeah, pretty
foaming
much.
at the
I'm like,
mouth.
yeah, this is a TV show I want.
Yeah. I mean, but because it's based on a video game, I naturally have this assumption it's going to suck.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair.
Just because movie adaptations of video games have been.
I want to say the one thing that's promising about being an MMO is that they're just taking. There's not a lot of them typically don't have much story, so to speak. They have like lore. So this is kind of like, okay, we're taking the world and then building a story into it.
Yeah, I can see it.
So that maybe has more promise than a direct adaptation of something that always tend to be shy.
It makes me. I think I need to know where it's going. Network will tell me a lot about my expectations for it.
Yeah, definitely. But that's the thing. This could be really high budget and do some stuff
Yeah,
with
because
it.
I could easily see this on Freeform,
Yeah, no, you're right.
and you know what it would be like if it was on Freeform.
But then you can kind of see it on like Netflix.
The CW is developing a one-hour drama based on the novel The Valiant. It'll follow a Celtic princess on the run from an arranged marriage and a sheltered life who is captured and forced into slavery under Julius Caesar. She ends up training among the first wave of female gladiators to compete in the Colosseum for fame, fortune, and ultimately freedom.
I feel like if this wasn't on CW, it'd be amazing. and that's I like a lot of CW stuff.
The
but
budget doesn't feel like it's going to be there for this,
right,
does it?
like, this is the thing. Like, I like stuff that CW does, but I know what to expect from CW at the same time. And I feel like this is going to be, right. You can kind of see the teen drama of it already, can't you? With all the other, her getting with all the other gladiators, forming the little groups. You can kind of see how it's going to fit on the CW.
Yep, they're going to be fighting over a boy, no doubt, by the end of the second episode, because that's just how it rolls. Admittedly, the premise itself doesn't immediately interest me. The era of Rome and the Colosseum and gladiators and all the rest of it. Like, I love the movie Gladiator because it's a good movie, but I wasn't interested in that movie on a premise level. Before I seen it, I liked it because it was good. But
I'm quite into all that stuff. I did a lot of. When I was young, I went around a lot of Roman sites and stuff like that.
That's fair. That's fair. Right, here's a network we don't usually talk about. The Oprah Winfrey Network, OWN for short.
That's a thing.
That's a thing. I've given a straight to serious order for an entitled drama from the co-writer of Moonlight, Tyrell Alvin McCraney, and also Michael B. Jordan, who's also producing. But McCraney's going to be the one who's going to create, write, and all that stuff. He's going to showrun it. It's a coming-of-age drama. It follows a 14-year-old prodigy from the projects, haunted by the death of his closest friend, who must choose between the streets that raised him or the higher education that may offer him a way out. It's set in South Florida at the end of the Obama era, and a series that's inspired by the events of McCraney's own life.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, sounds alright. So it's all down to the quality. But I've not seen Moonlight, but given that the praise.
It's very good.
Yeah, the praise that gets, I assume that the writing's probably quite good. So
writing's probably the best part of it. Other than like maybe the acting, the writing is like most of it's dialogue. So a lot of its strength comes from the writing.
That's fair. So that sounds like it has potential. I mean, I've never seen anything from the Oprah Winfrey Network before, but I'll happily check it out.
I didn't even know it existed until now.
Should this?
I'll be honest. Before you stumbled across this news story, did you know it existed?
I'd heard of it.
Okay.
I'd heard of it.
All right. I'll let you off.
ABC has got a new drama coming called Christy Cottis. That's a really good
sure?
name. Cottis, yes. Kottis.
Yeah.
Cottis, yeah. So it's a weird word though. Christy Cottis is inspired by the real-life Vespa riding, shit-kicking former New York City public school teacher turned FBI agent.
I'm in.
I don't know, the rest of this sounds kind of generic to me, but see how you feel. This is a darkly comedic drama set through the eyes of a real woman, not a superhero, not first in her class, but 50th, who found her calling in a place she never imagined. As the first female supervisor in charge of the Guardian Squad, the division responsible for uniting the NYPD, Homeland Security, Secret Service, Amtrak, and Port Authority Police in New York City.
Okay, you lost me.
Yeah, as much as, I mean, the darkly comedic description sounds kind of interesting, but the rest of it just sounds like, this is just going to be hard.
How many enforcement agencies can we throw in?
I'm surprised is there any missing? There's no CIA, but I guess that's outbound, so maybe that's not as relevant.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of agencies. Yeah, sounds generic.
Yeah. Once you just started listing agencies, it's like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Next up, CW is developing a show with a producer who worked on Agent Carter. It is a workplace drama. It's called The She Word. The series would follow 4 driven female assistants who discover they have been victims of gender discrimination at their boys' club of a company. They vow to work together to take over by whatever means necessary. That sounds like a good comedy to me.
It does.
So it sounds like a comedy where they're going to fight back, and I mean, not like a full slapstick sort of thing, but just like it'll have serious points, but it'll be funny because they're working together and they're trying to like do stuff. Whereas this is a drama from someone who worked in Agent Carter. So
right, that's right. Agent Carter, like the message. Obviously, the messaging was good, but it wasn't subtle. It was, really.
It was heavy-handed, and ultimately that show was just kind of boring.
Right, but like I say, it was really, really heavy-handed. It didn't know how to handle it in a TV show. It knew how to put its message across, but it didn't know how to make it entertaining.
But of course, this is just one person who worked in that. That may not be.
Yeah, no,
so,
true.
I don't know. But I don't know. My hopes aren't high for it. It doesn't really sound like something that I'm going to love, but you never know.
No, me either.
Next up, Fox are developing a show called Smoke and Mirrors. The series will follow a seasoned former detective who is now a mum stuck behind a desk and raising 2 kids. She is unexpectedly pulled back into the field to cover for a sick colleague and work alongside a young rookie female detective who has been deep undercover. A, generic as hell. B, yeah. Well, why did she decide to keep doing it? Because surely the person who's sick
comes back.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like sicker than it's hitting it. Maybe it's like something like cancer or something.
Well, okay, sure, but surely that's long term.
They'd hire a replacement.
Like I get why if it's like for a day or two they'd say, hey, do you want to like go back out in the beat or go work the case like you used to, but. So I'm assuming that she'll decide to stay on doing what she's doing at some point, but
right.
Oh god, it sounds generic as hell. I want none of it.
Literally, the only thing that's different about that from every other buddy cop thing is that they're female instead. That pretty much from that description, like.
Well, this is the thing. Fox have got this serious hard on for the buddy cop show where one of them is something. And because they did Minority Report, one of them's like a psychic. They did Almost Human, one of them's a robot. This is one of them's a mum. That is literally what this is.
Step down, like you say, you've just like psychic, robot, Sleepy Hollow. One of them's from 250 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh, And then Water loves a bum. It's a real step down, isn't it?
It's just nah, I'm good. Sounds generic. All right, last up on this week's news. Oh, this was a quicker news video than the last few weeks. Blind Spot executive producers Greg Berlanti and Martin Giro. Obviously, Greg Berlanti known for a lot more than just Blind Spot. I've got a pilot commitment from NBC.
Oh dear.
I'm not. I mean, maybe you'll like the premise of this, but it is also a generic political show. So
Okay, I'm prepared.
it's called Republic. It is a one-hour drama that will follow the newly minted female chief of staff to a moderate Republican president. With their administration in dire crisis, they find themselves under fire from extremists on both sides, defending their well-intentioned actions both politically and legally.
Did they really want to announce that this week?
Both sides. Both sides.
If this had been last week, I'd have said, yeah, I can see it. You know, both sides have some problems.
Like, just rewrite it. Just that phrase, both sides. It's conjuring up something very specific that happened in the last week, which I don't think you want to be putting in people's heads.
You really don't, unless that's their intention. Where they're going, yeah, you know, they're like, you'll remember this show now because it's the one that said that. So it sticks out because it's like that's something almost. It's not the greatest marketing ploy, but
I think my reaction to this is that it's just a bit too close to like seeing a few years, like seeing like 10 years when like we're not in this current era, right?
Yeah.
And you look back and go, let's analyze it a bit. Let's do something based on that. Then fair enough, go for it. But right now in the middle of it, I don't know if like this has that much appeal. Certainly for entertainment value.
That's the thing. I can see myself enjoying it because I like political dramas. But that was a poor choice of words to put out on a statement this week.
And
NBC, it just was.
And NBC, I don't think it's going to be like super deep. Like I feel like NBC it'll be lighter entertainment.
Probably, which is fine, but I doubt it'll be anything special.
Yeah. So Republic's a thing. I mean, it's got a pilot commitment. It doesn't mean we'll actually ever see it, but
yeah,
there you go. But that's the news this week. I think we got through that quicker because the last like 4 or 5 things there were all really kind of dull and generic sounding.
Yeah, there's only so many times we can go, yeah, that's a TV show.
Yep, that's like every other thing that they put out on those networks. So I guess that wraps it up, and that leaves us to pick our favourite episode of TV from the week.
Let me guess, yours is Twin Peaks.
How could it not? That was a fantastic episode of Twin Peaks this week. Fantastic.
It was.
And you know what? Room 104 had a good episode. What else did we even do this week?
We did some more Comrade.
We did more Comrade Detective. We did a Dear White People, and those were good. But because that's not airing weekly, it feels like a weird.
No, I think that's it for you.
Yeah, I think that is it.
I want to just say, Game of Thrones had its best episode in years. Like, genuinely, like the best episode in seasons.
But still Twin Peaks.
But still, Twin Peaks was again, like I said, that was probably the second best episode of this season.
Yeah, second or third, depending on your preference.
Right, it's a phenomenal piece of TV, and I feel bad for Game of Thrones because it put out a really solid effort. It really did. But Twin Peaks.
What are you gonna do? So that is the week's news, and that is our favourite TV of the week. And that kind of wraps us up. It's kind of weird. I'm not used to finishing this quickly.
I know. It's like, oh, done already.
I'm so used to this being an hour long at least.
I've still got time left this evening.
But here we go. So that is this week's news. So let us know what you thought of any of the week's news in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz. Oh, actually, let's briefly just mention something we forgot to talk about last week. I don't have it in front of me.
Right,
but,
yeah.
I'm going to defend this. Connor was giving me shit after last week's news for missing this, right? But I'm going to somewhat defend it. Because there was no actual TV shows announced or anything like that.
No, there wasn't.
And while I agree it's something that should have came up, I don't think we actually missed a big talking point.
It's quite a big announcement, though, isn't it?
Okay, right. So Netflix acquired Miller World, which is the umbrella of comics from Mark Miller to kind of self-publishes and whatnot. It includes a bunch of his stuff, and that means it doesn't include the stuff that's already like licensed. Kick-Ass and Kingsman are like still tied up with whoever's got the rights for those.
Yeah.
And quite right, like his Kingsman, like the second movie's just about to come out, next month. So
you can't expect them.
But everything else that's not happened yet, they now have the rights to, which probably means a couple of these things will turn into TV shows at Netflix, maybe a couple of movies at Netflix. That's probably going to be a thing.
Right, and it's really interesting because he's got a wide variety of things. Not all of it good, although more recently people seem to be kind of getting back on board with some of his stuff. Like Hook was supposed to be really good. It's kind of his version of a take on Superman. You had Jupiter's Legacy, Jupiter's Circle, which was like these retired older superheroes, and then it was about their children, how they inherit the world in the modern world and view the world of the past.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read much of his stuff, mainly because what I have read I've not liked, and I've kind of just steered clear. I actually really like the first Kick-Ass movie, I really like Kingsman, but in both those cases you've got Matthew Vaughn, and
no, definitely,
like you've got someone who took his original ideas and then, like, because Kick-Ass especially, I think Matthew Vaughn added so much heart to that story that made it a lot more endearing.
I mean, a credit to Miller, the original idea. The idea at its core is really good. But his writing wasn't the best.
He likes to be shocking and do things that are like, oh, I can't believe you just did that. At potentially at the expense of it just being a good story.
Right, but I think he's kind of moved away from that a bit because, like you said, like those last couple of things I mentioned, more recent, some high-profile people working on it with it. Like Jupiter's Legacy had Frank Quitely, and Hook had Raphael Albuquerque. Like these high-profile people working on it with these things.
Yes, but have you read any of these?
I've read Jupiter's Legacy. Yeah.
Right. Did you like it?
I did, and there isn't any of that big shock value thing. It's actually like an analysis of something.
Okay.
Weirdly.
Okay, I'm not excited because, like, basically until I see evidence of quality, I'm not going to be excited. But it does mean that, like, there's potential of a lot of new shows and stuff.
I'm also intrigued. Does it go both ways? Because Netflix now essentially owns a comic publisher. So can we get comics based on the shows? Can we get like Stranger Things comics or something like that?
Maybe, if they even care.
Maybe they don't, but kind of feels like maybe that's easy because they don't have to pay to license it out. Go through any deals. It's just like, hey, we'll just publish it.
Oh, I can't wait for the House of Cards comic book.
I'm not saying everything needs a comic, but say this Sense8 movie wraps up, and people still want more in that world because people really like Sense8. They go, hey, let's give them a comic. It's cheaper.
Maybe. We'll see.
You never know.
But that is us. So, if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, and you can do that over there. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz. But that is us. So, thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, and we will see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?